is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing Listener Stories Volume 3. We are at Volume 3 already, guys. You are the actual best for sending in your encounters with the paranormal and supernatural and trusting me to tell them for you. So I'm super excited. Let's roll right along and start with number 1, which comes from, of course, Jason Zorn. And Jason, I hope you're well. I haven't heard anything from you in a while. Please reach out. I want to do a whole video on your paranormal life, so hit me up about that. Guys, also, if you have a ton of paranormal or supernatural experiences, encounters, stories to tell, let me know through email. I'll leave my emails in the description box, and I'll also put them on the screen at a later time in the video. I'll do a whole video just on your encounters, but you've got to reach out and you've got to give them to me. So, Jason Zorn, this one's called Short Story. The house I currently live in was built, I think, around 1883 or so. It's pretty old. Undergone a lot of renovations over the years. It's basically just a normal house, nothing special, but now and then some weird things happen. Nothing horrible or terrifying, just a weird feeling where you just know spirits or something lives there with you. Sometimes you'll see something dart by just out of the corner of your eye. Sometimes a heavy thump that sounds like something soft, but yet heavy, falling onto the living room floor. The floors are all old wooden floors, so it's a unique noise. But nothing will be on the floor. One night I was lying in bed, almost asleep, and I swear it felt like a hand grabbed me by my ankle and shook it. I darted up in bed ready to fight, and no one was there. And this went on almost every night for weeks. I'd be laying in bed watching YouTube on my phone, wide awake, and I'd get grabbed and shaken slightly by my ankle. I'd yank my leg away, wait a minute, and then try to go back to my show, and I'd get grabbed again. It finally got to the point when I'd get grabbed, it didn't scare me. I mean, sure, it would startle me, but I quit being scared and finally would just start yelling, "Quit it!" And it would stop for the night. I sleep with my bedroom door shut. I sleep with the bathroom and closet doors shut. There's just something about an open door that I just can't get comfortable with. Can't sleep with an open door. Sometimes I'd wake up in the morning to find my bedroom door partially open. Last night, I was getting into bed, lights out, but I could still see a little. A hunkered down shadow about 4.5, maybe 5 feet tall, darted by on the far wall of my room and then bent down and disappeared. But that was it. I have a box fan I use at night while sleeping. Sometimes the fan falls over. It pisses me off because it wakes me up. Then I have to get out of bed and stand it back up. And it's sturdy. It's not just going to fall over on its own. But overall, it's not frightening, just a little irritating at times. That's all I got for this one. Jason, thank you so much. As usual, this is actually pretty awesome. I know a lot of these things are terrifying and frightening, but for me as a paranormal, I don't want to say paranormal investigator, but I do research the paranormal. As a paranormal researcher, it's actually pretty awesome. I understand the irritation of things. It's like when you get poltergeist activity, it's not actually hurting you. The little stuff, I'm not talking drawers flying open and things coming out, but the little things like your fan knocking over or a light flickering when you're trying to do something. It's very, very irritating. Totally feel you, bro, on the not being able to sleep with open doors. There's 3 closets in my master bedroom. One is Ray's, the walk-in is mine, and then there's also a towel closet for the master bathroom. And the towel closet, which also leads to the crawl space in the attic, and my walk-in, neither one have doors, and it drives me absolutely insane. It scares the crap out of me. I've been here almost 4 years. You'd think that like maybe I'll put a door on it. I definitely understand you. I definitely feel you. I think maybe if you cleansed your house with some sage, you might be able to get rid of whatever this is. Guys, more and more I've been hearing reports, and actually in my research finding out a lot more of recent reports of shadow beings, right? But not the super duper tall ones that we're used to. They're actually being described just like this, between 4 and 5 feet tall. Not necessarily a child, just a small adult. So I don't know. Stay tuned for that. I just filmed my 3rd shadow person video, which is actually part 2 because I gave y'all the 1.5. I'm getting off track, but that is coming. I don't talk about the shorter shadow people in that video, but that is coming up. As you all know, I like to have all of my research together and in order before I present information to you. So, moving right along. This next encounter is called Jellyfish Entity Encounter, and it's from someone who was in one of mine and Steve's live streams and had mentioned this, and I told them, like, look, send your encounter in because you're not alone. This is very strange, kind of exotic, something I've definitely never heard before, but am about to start researching, and I'm wondering, there's got to be someone else, at least one person out there, who's heard of this. When I encountered the Glimmer Man, I already knew other people had also encountered it, but if I didn't, I would have felt really alone because you don't hear much still about that. This was written to me and Steve. So it starts, hello, Gemma and Steve. This is my first time on this stream. I am a fan of the show and longtime subscriber to Unusual Disappearances. Okay, so for my encounter. I'm 40 years old and this occurred in the early to mid 90s. I can get the time down as I was listening to an Art Bell radio show with Father Malachi Martin, the exorcist. So I went to bed, hit sleep on my radio for 59 minutes, and began listening to Art Bell. Like I said, Father Martin was explaining about his exorcism experiences. I remember hitting sleep on the radio again to listen longer. Now this is important. I was kind of scared, so out loud I say something to the effect of, I would like to see something try and possess me. I fell asleep shortly after. I awoke to see this jellyfish entity floating at the end of my bed off to the left a little. I immediately hid under the covers. I wasn't really that terrified at that exact moment because I was still half asleep. So at virtually the exact moment, I notice there's no radio playing and I can see an orange glow through my sheets in the direction this thing was. Okay, so I don't want the thing to notice me. That's what I remember thinking. At that exact moment, it all hit me. Art Bell, Father Malachi, exorcist, demons. I remembered what I was thinking right before I had fallen asleep. The orange glow became slightly brighter. I panicked and bolted for the closed door. I remember using my blanket as a shield, trying to block this thing's view of me, or maybe my view of it. I bolted because of the feeling I got. Utter dread and terror. I didn't want to see this thing. I didn't want it to see me, and I wanted my mom. I opened the door to see my mother taking off her makeup directly across the hallway from me. I jumped over the bed and slumped into the far corner of the room, farthest away from the door. I couldn't talk straight. I told my mother and she was convinced I was dreaming. I used to have vivid dreams as a child and act some of them out, not remember anything in the morning, and then not even dream usually. This thing was orange and in the general shape of a jellyfish. Had to have been 5 to 6 foot tall, bulbous head, classic jellyfish shape. But I don't think it was an actual phantom jellyfish. It was electric. Coursing orange electricity ran through the entire thing, giving off light. The electricity had kind of like a pattern to it. It pulsed light and kind of quivered or vibrated, like it was alive and intelligent. I only glimpsed it for 1 to 2 seconds, tops. Now, I basically convinced myself I was dreaming. I know I wasn't dreaming. I would bet the bank on it. Thanks for reading. I have experienced chills several times while writing this. If you asked me, I would say it was replying to my challenge. It seemed to have woke me up. I just would like to know what this thing is and or if anybody else has experienced this entity. Can't find anything anywhere on it. I want to know for sure I wasn't dreaming. Thanks for reading. Sincerely, Sirach. Sirach, thank you so much for sharing. I didn't remember, obviously, with my intro in the beginning, I'm like someone in the live stream. I now know definitely who you are. We were just talking last night about these static entities, right? This is definitely interesting to me, and at first I definitely thought demon. This sounds demonic to me, and I will send you some research as to why I feel that way. I don't have any research open to kind of share it with you guys, but it will come up during my series on demons and demonic possession that I'm doing in the fall throughout the winter. But Sirach, I will send it to you right away. This sounds demonic to me, but then when you started talking about how it was electric and all that, I was also thinking extraterrestrial. So let me do a little more research and I will definitely get back to you on that. I promise. Give me a few weeks and I'll try to help you out. I think you sent this to Steve as well, and I'm sure he could find something. But the main thing I wanted to do was get this out there for you so that you don't feel so alone. There's got to be other people who have experienced this. And if you have experienced something like this and you don't want to publicly put it in the comments, or if you have more to say about it, then would kind of be reasonable to put in one of the comments, email me, GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com, and my email again will be in the description box and put on the screen at a later time in the video as well. I'm going to do a third listener encounter, and then we're going to wrap it up. Sirach, hang in there. I got your back, boo. Our next listener story comes again from Jason Zorn, and this is why I want to do a full video on him. I know you guys don't mind though. I mean, if it were coming from a different name, it would still be a different story, right? So the title of this one is, What Is That? True. Autumn of 1985. The leaves were, well, the leaves were still pretty much just leaves at this point. October it was, I believe, but in Texas, leaves don't exactly change color, except for summer green to kind of brown to just falling off the trees, and that's called fall here. But on one late afternoon approaching sundown, me and my younger brother saw an elongated, distant light approaching from the southwest of the town of Palestine, Texas. Me and my brother stood kind of playing in the front yard, and we lived mostly almost out of town, watching this thing get closer and closer. And we paused. Being an Air Force brat and very interested in aircraft, I was like, what is that? My brother looked too. It seemed to just be getting closer and closer still. Soon it was extremely near, and I said, Justin, go get the Polaroid. That was before digital cameras or cell phones, but we had those instant cameras that snapped out a square picture with a horrible quality. Anybody remember those? So my brother ran in the house to find the camera while I just stood and watched this craft. Completely all glowing orange with yellow lights lit all around it, like a circular disc, but with a slight dome on the top about 100 feet in diameter. Just came gliding silently right over the treetops, not even 80 yards away from me. Then just glided silently to the north and just glided right out of sight. My brother came running out of the house, fumbling with the camera. Here it is. Never mind, I said. It's gone. As I recall, it made the newspaper the next day because dozens of other witnesses across town saw it as well. Jason, thank you so much for sharing another one of your many, many experiences. I don't feel so alone in having so many paranormal and supernatural and extraterrestrial encounters all happening to one person here, and I found you, and you're exactly the same. So thank you so much for sharing that, definitely an ET, and I would actually love to read the article about that, so let's talk. I have a couple of very short encounters, again, from the same subscriber, and we're going to refer to her as Debbie. She says, I love listening to you and Steve. You help me to realize that I'm not the only one who has paranormal experiences. When my son was between the ages of 3 and 9, we lived in this old country house that was not your average old country house. It was strange to say the least. We lived in this house with my mother and my stepfather. She was disabled and couldn't get out a lot because of health issues, so I would play Yahtzee or Rummy with her after dinner was done, and then I would clean up after. On this particular occasion, I don't think our resident ghost liked the dishes in the dish drainer. Now, before I go any further here, I need to explain our kitchen was huge and had a large amount of space between the sink and where the table sat. Well, me and my mom were playing Yahtzee and razzing each other, and then all of a sudden a plastic bowl we had, which had fried potatoes in it, which was on top of the other dishes, lifted up about 2 feet in the air and la-di-da, so casually, floated across the room midway. It just sat in the air as sweet as you please for a good 10 to 15 seconds and then dropped on the floor. My mother's back was to the sink, so she didn't see this, but she definitely noticed the look on my face. I then told her what had happened, and she turned around and saw the bowl on the floor sitting right side up. I looked at it and just said, thank you for not using a glass dish to get our attention. This is old farmhouse story number 1. I have several more to tell you about, which is going to bring us into farmhouse story number 2. So as Debbie said in the first one, her mother was disabled and they'd play games at the kitchen table, which, by the way, girl, Yahtzee is my jam. I used to play it with my mother all the time. My mother and my stepfather, actually, so we have that in common as well. Debbie goes on to say, well, we had a friend who had a little girl that was a year older than my son, and she would bring her out to play because there was a lot of yard to play in. Mother and stepfather went into town to check out the new Walmart. This goes way back into the 80s. The desk that the phone sat on was by a window which faced the driveway, and the other side of that was a pasture. I get done on the phone, notice Wheel of Fortune is on TV. Just to give you a timeline, I turn to look out the window and see this person crossing across my yard. Duh, me not registering that this is not a regular person, calls the cops because I'm thinking somebody's trespassing on my property. The cops came out, there were no footprints, there wasn't a person, and they looked at me like I've got two heads and that I'm not right in my own head. They left and it registered that what I saw was a young girl, but she was glowing. She had long flowing hair and seemed to just glide across the yard and passed into a shed that was in the yard. It was so cool when it registered that I got to see a full body apparition. By the way, I didn't mention this to my mom or my friend because I was afraid they'd think I was losing my marbles. Yes, Debbie, I love that you think it's cool that you saw a full-bodied apparition. I'm going to tell the rest of your stories in the next volumes. I'm going to close it out for tonight. Guys, that's all I have for you tonight. Please give a big round of applause and a thank you to everyone who submitted stories today. Sirach, Jason, Zorn, and Debbie. I love you guys so much. Thank you to you guys for trusting me with these encounters and allowing me to share them publicly. I hope you find some comfort or resolution, whatever you're looking for, by doing that. I really truly appreciate it, and I appreciate every single one of you. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this time with me, if you enjoyed listening and hanging out with me, and give it a big thumbs up for the people who put themselves out there and sent their encounters in. Please subscribe if you haven't already and spread the love by sharing this video as much as you can. Also, please check out the description box for links to the 3 live streams I do every week with Steve Stockton. Sunday nights Fireside Chat with me and Steve. Stemma on Missing Persons and Mysteries from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday nights, Stemma is on the Zombified channel with Real Evil from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And Friday nights, Campfire Stories on Missing Persons and Mysteries, me and Steve. Stemma in the house. That's from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time as well. Also, please check out the 2-hour live stream that Steve and I did on Missing Persons and Mysteries channel with Caleb Smith's mother, April Arrington, trying to get justice for Caleb Smith. Links to Patreon and PayPal for financial donations to the channel as well. Thank you guys so much. Be kind to each other. It doesn't cost anything. Go in grace, smile at a stranger, and I will see you guys next time. Have your best day. Have your best night. Bye-bye.